Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Cars, and Furs. My name is Leslie. I'm already laughing. All right, so I for once finished that first bookshelf TBR. It took me all the way till September, but I got it done. So initially I wanted to read books from 4 of my small bookshelves, but it's already October and I don't think I'm gonna get through 4. I'll get through 2. So I'll consider that a grand accomplishment for my slow reading habits. Okay, so we're at the second shelf, and I just thought maybe I would just record from here. But I have 2 books that aren't on there, and they're gonna be included. And so yeah, it is October, so I thought for the Halloween season I would read Out There Screaming, an anthology of new Black horror edited by Jordan Peele. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance. If I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. So I thought this would be perfect for October. So that's going to happen. Let me see. The other one is that I am reading. There's 2 books I got to talk about. I'm reading Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange, but this book is a prequel and a sequel to There. And so I don't want to read this unless I reread There. Because yeah, it's been a while since I read it. I just need the refresher, so it's going to happen anyways. So because I'm reading that, I'm also reading I Know What's Best for You. This is also, I don't know if Grammy could hold everything. An anthology. I talked about it before. Stories of reproductive freedom, and Tommy Orange is a contributor. So I think this is all that I have. Oh, okay. So these all involve Tommy Orange, and there's one more in here. I know this shelf is not very stable, so. I could be wrong, but I also have Never Whistle at Night, which will also be an October read. I think Tommy Orange also is a contributor, but I haven't looked at this in a while. If he is, what I'm going to do is I'll read all of these together when I do read them. Oh my goodness. Don't fall. Okay. But you know what? Now that I have my hands free, let's see. Yeah. On page 328, Tommy Orange makes a contribution. So no matter when I read these, whether it's October or between October, November, December, I am going to be doing a wrap-up focused on Tommy Orange, which will be pretty cool because I would have read enough to have that kind of conversation, and I'm excited. So that's that stack. Oh my god. I'm on my couch and it's squeaky, so if you hear any squeaking, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Then there is also, hold on tight, The Golem of Brooklyn. I think this is supposed to be satire, and it's a novel by Adam Mansbach. And I was at a store. It was a store in Pasadena, Romans. And W. Kamau Bell also made a comment on the back in praise of this book. And I remember reading the inside, and it sounded so funny. So I'll read it quickly. It says, in Ashkenazi Jewish folklore, a golem is a humanoid being created out of mud or clay and animated through secret prayers. Its sole purpose is to defend the Jewish people against the immediate threat of violence. It is always a rabbi who makes a golem, and always in a time of crisis. But Leo Bronstein is no rabbi. He's a Brooklyn art teacher who steals a large quantity of clay from his school, gets extremely stoned, and manages to bring his creation to life despite knowing little about Judaism and even less about golems. Unable to communicate with his 9'6", 400-pound Yiddish-speaking guest, Len enlists a bodega clerk and ex-Hasid, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, named Miri Ethelblom to translate, and it kind of goes from there. But this is supposed to be satire, and it just sounded like something I've never read before, and about actually a culture I don't read about often. So I thought this would be a good read. And also, there's a second. Tracy from the Stacks podcast interviewed the author for the second, Race and Guns in Fatally Unequal America by Carol Anderson. And ever since I heard that interview, I've wanted to read this. And also, I love nonfiction. And so this is right up my alley. So there's another one. This is sci-fi. There is I don't know how many books are going to be in the series, but this is the first one. And it is by Cherry Dimaline, The Marrow Thieves. YA. And it says, in a world nearly destroyed by global warming, the indigenous people of North America are being hunted for their bone marrow, which carries the key to recovering something the rest of the population has lost, the ability to dream. Frenchie and his companions struggling to survive don't yet know that one of them holds a secret to defeating the Marrow Thieves. That alone, that got me. And it's YA, so I feel like the way the language is geared towards YA will give me an opportunity to breeze through this work quite quickly. So I look forward to that. And I'm sorry if you could hear the outside noise. I actually live near an auto body, and I've given up on trying to figure out when to record when it's less noisy. So that's where I'm at. All right, this is by Leanne Howe, Savage Conversations, with an introduction by Susan Power. I actually saw this on Instagram. If I could find who recommended it in the first place, I will put them in the description because I just realized I don't have that information prepared. I'm sorry. But when I heard the summary of this book, it just sounded riveting. So it says, May 1875. Mary Todd Lincoln is addicted to opiates and tried in a Chicago court on charges of insanity. Entered into evidence is Miss Lincoln's claim that every night a savage Indian enters her bedroom and slashes her face and scalp. She is swiftly committed to Bellevue Place Sanitarium. Her haunting may be a reminder that in 1862, President Lincoln ordered the hanging of 38 Dakota, the largest mass execution in United States history. No one has ever linked the two events until now. Savage Conversations is a daring account of a former First Lady and the ghosts that tormented her for the contradictions and crimes on which this nation is founded. So that's riveting, a very important read, and I'm glad the information is being put into context. And it's also thin, so I think it's a book that I'm going to be able to get through quite quickly. All right. I'm leaving the bigger ones for last. Here we go. Okay, so this is a nonfiction on anti-Semitism, Jewish Voices for Peace, Solidarity, and the Struggle for Justice. This wasn't actually initially on the shelf. I kind of changed up the curation because I wanted to read this year. And I'm just trying to be like a stickler about sticking to my TBR projects and getting through them. So I haven't had a chance to read this any earlier, which I would have liked. So yeah, in the back it says, in this illuminating collection of essays curated by Jewish Voice for Peace, a broad range of activists, movement theorists, and public figures engage with critical questions about contemporary anti-Semitism. There are other booktubers that have recommended this book, but there have been several, so this kept popping up, and I thought that this would be a great place for me to start as far as reading, to kind of get some sort of grasp on a complex dynamic and realities of what's going on in the world today. So I'm going to read the stack's getting bigger. All right. This is also one I just recently got, but it was so riveting that once again I couldn't have myself get a copy. I could hear everybody's music outside. All I See is Violence by Angie Alita Newell. It's a novel, and on the back it says, "A woman warrior, a ruthless general, and a single mother. 3 stories deftly braided into the legacy of a stolen nation." The U.S. government stole the Black Hills from the Sioux, as it stole land from every tribe across North America. Forcibly located, America Indians were enslaved under strict land and resource regulations. Indigenous writer Angie Elita Newell brings a poignant retelling of the catastrophic true story of the 1876 Battle of Little Bighorn and the social upheaval that occurred on the Pine Ridge reservation in 1872. I'm sorry, 1972, during the height of the American Indian movement. So the conversation goes on from there. I have a couple of books, how do I say this, but about different segments of this time period, because it seems like it's going to be a culmination of a couple of things. They're nonfiction. They're still in my bookshelf, and I haven't gone to them. And I actually think this will be a great entry point before I read those nonfiction works a different year. So this is it. It's happening this year. Okay, this is not going to happen. And then The Tunnel is the biggest book. It's a bit daunting, and this has been on my shelf for a long time, collecting dust, and I feel like this is the year. This is the year that I tackle the book. It's by William H. Gass. Michael Silverblatt from LA Times says, "The most beautiful, most complex, most disturbing novel to be published in my lifetime." And on the back it says, 30 years in the making, William H. Glass' second novel first appeared on the literary scene in 1995, at which time it was promptly hailed as an indisputable masterpiece. It is the story of a middle-aged professor who, upon completion of his massive historical study, Guilt and Innocence in Hitler's Germany, sets out to write an introduction. Unable to do so, he finds himself writing about his own life instead, an intensely personal, even private book that runs counter to the rigidity of his historical work. Isolated, he begins digging a tunnel out of the basement where he writes. So, just reacting to that, summary, I feel like maybe what the author is trying to say is, how do you even begin to introduce such atrocities and terrible things going on in the world that are done by humans to each other? So I can't wait to read that. Oh my goodness, my stack is getting huge. All right. The last book is also a book that I want to get to this year. I just don't want to wait any longer. And that's War and Peace, The End of Diplomacy and the Decline of American Influence. It's nonfiction. It's by Ronan Barrow. This author is a journalist. He's put up a lot of different nonfiction work. I'm sorry, that's so loud. And I really want to get to this. I saw an interview with him. I think it might have been on Comedy Central, on The Daily Show, I think. During the Trump administration, there was an increased number of diplomats that were being released from the positions. And what the author is saying is, yeah, that may have happened, maybe in more frequent numbers, but it's been something that's been going on with every single president for a very long time. And what that means, what is the impact of losing diplomats? And I guess when you remove people that can engage in conversations, and that leads, let's say, the United States, that puts us in a place to be reactionary, and maybe war should not be the first thing we jump to. Maybe we should try peace talks first, or so yeah. Sorry, my couch is squeaky. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of this, and I just found that fascinating. So I'm gonna try to pick up all these books. I don't think I can. I'm afraid I'm gonna drop it. Oh my god. So yeah, these are all the books, which is so funny because come on, how many books did I get through on my first shelf? And it took me till September. So we'll see how it goes. It's gonna be a big push, but I think we can do it. And I have Grammy over here to help hold the books and cheer me on. Oh my goodness. All right. So if you've read any of these books, please let me know. I'm all gross and sweaty. There's a lot of lighting on me. Yeah, so there's my October reads, my November, my December. It's all going to be from this particular shelf. And I am not adding not one more book, unless it's a romance for my romance challenge. But that's it. I'm maxed out. If you've read any of these before and you want to give me your input, please go ahead and comment below. If you're new, welcome. Please subscribe. If you're returning, thank you for your support. And if you're not sure what kind of comment to leave, I'd say go ahead and leave me a pumpkin emoji today. And happy reading. I'll see you in the chat.